Hey everybody. How y'all doing today? It's Mike here, Way Life Outdoor Survival. Y'all, you have to kind of look over me. I know I didn't realize how dirty I was till I turned my camera on. But anyway, been working in a ditch all day, trying to fix a mainline water leak. But y'all, I got home. I was out here kind of messing around. I realized something. I come out the garden, was kind of working in the garden. I hadn't showed you guys my garden. This year, I mean, last year I did a little video on like a walkthrough of my garden, and people seem to enjoy it. So I thought while I was out here, I thought I'd kind of do a little video. I'll tell you what, we'll start down the hill here. I did a little more. I did a little more than I usually do. Actually, I tried something different. I think I talked to some of you guys about this last year, but let me get rid of these sunglasses. When I was a kid, my grandfather would always plant corn, beans, and squash together. And he said the Native American term for that was called Three Sisters. Well, what it does, y'all, the corn provides stability for the beans, for the runners of the beans to grow up. Um, the beans actually put nitrogen back in the ground that corn needs, and the squash, the big wide leaves of the squash, kind of shade it to keep most of the grass and weeds from growing in with your corn and beans. And this is the first time I've done just the corn and beans before, and it worked out great. It made it a lot easier to pick the beans because it seems to grow right up the stalk of the corn. And but this is the first year that I put squash in with it. And I'm gonna tell y'all something. I'll be honest with you. My wife, everything that we growed, except for a few of the tomatoes I'll show you here in a minute, were all from seeds. We try to do everything from seeds. Y'all, I'll be honest with you. The reason that we raise garden and all the different stuff we raise is because that's what we can stuff. We, save it. We freeze stuff. We do everything we can to make it last. And it actually helps out a lot. You wouldn't believe how much it helps financially by you know having your own canned vegetables and stuff. And honestly, I'm not trying to brag, but I think I got about my tomato slips were actually give to me. Um, Most of them, some of them were give to me. A couple squash plants were give to me. The rest of the stuff, me and my wife, we sprouted seeds and growed all this from seeds. Now some of the stuff I've still got to thin out a little more and stuff like that because we just sowed the seeds in the garden and actually grew the seeds in from the ground. We planted them in the ground and grew them straight from seeds. And some of that stuff we got thin out. I'll kind of show you, but y'all, I'm not sure. I'll be honest with you. My wife, she bought a bunch of these seeds and brought them home. Well, I had so many different kinds of squash and stuff, and I knew I was mixing it with my corn and my beans anyway. So y'all, I just mixed all the squash seeds, the bean seeds, and the corn seed together, and that's the way I planted stuff. Now I've already went back and thinned some of the corn out. I like for the corn to be a good 10 to 12 inches apart. It seems like it produces better that way. But y'all, look how huge these squash plants are. And like I said, I had a couple squash give to me that were plants, two of them. And honestly, these are bigger than the ones that we planted that were probably a foot tall already when we planted them as plants. But all these, I got 5 rows of corn and beans mixed, and 4 of those rows have different kinds of squash. There's, oh God, I don't know, butternut squash, winter mix, like a mix of squash, winter squash. I've got yellow squash up here on the hill. I've got zucchini, but this is some of the tomato plants. And now these were actually given to me. My wife's stepdad, Leon, he gave these to me. I think he gave me, I had 16 of them live from slips, and we planted those out. And everything else we pretty much raised from seeds. And y'all, I got, let me see if I can get you a little better view. There we go. I've got green onions growing, 2 rows of them. And they're actually a mix of the red, purple looking onions, the yellow onions, and white onions. And these aren't just like green tomatoes. they actually make table size tomatoes if you let them grow, and then you have to dig them up and dry them out and stuff like that a little bit. But we got probably, I think we planted 100 onions, and then we got this row is Swiss chard. Actually, first time I raised this year, this is a new vegetable that I had tried, and we grew on this year and had a pretty good stand of it. Now this row here, this row is actually Brussels sprouts. Okay, then the other half of it down there, we'll go down here and look at it. This half of it is actually broccoli, which I've still got to thin a little bit of this stuff out. Then we got, let's see here, there's two different kinds of like a loose leaf lettuce. There's a greener kind and there's a rainbow kind. I'll show it to you. It's pretty cool looking. It's a kind of a pretty color. And that's just a loose, kind of a loose leaf lettuce. And then we got a few, seems like the bugs are trying to get to some of this, y'all. This little stuff right here is actually cauliflower. And y'all, I apologize, there is a little bit of grass and stuff in the garden. I hadn't had a chance to go through it in the last couple of days. But then here we have, I told y'all my nephew Mitch, he gave me some yellow squash plants. And we actually getting a few little yellow squash on there. Probably in about 2 to 3 days, we'll have eating size squash coming off of there. And this plant, y'all, is something. This is another plant. My wife actually bought this plant. Never grown this type of squash before, but it's called spaghetti squash. So we grow some of that. Then I told y'all, I've got zucchini plants. All this is zucchini. Okay. Now these tomatoes are a different type of tomatoes. This is, let me see here, what is this? This is a Better Boy. That's just a slicing tomato. Okay, that's what all these, I think there's 6 plants there. And these two are kind of a little different tomato. Something's been eating on that one. Yeah, that's one thing too. These are Mr. Stripeys. They're kind of a red with green striped tomato. But y'all, I don't put pesticides. If there's bugs and stuff that get on here, I just get out here and pick them off and try to do the best I can, to get rid of them and stuff. But I don't do any kind of fertilizer. I mean, all we do is natural. We actually take different types of natural fertilizer and put on here, like after we harvest, and then we'll let it set all winter and then till it into the ground in the spring. And that's what we do. I don't believe in putting chemicals on my food, y'all. I'm sorry, but I know about everything we eat if it's store-bought. I mean, I know they do it to preserve stuff and all that, but y'all, I don't agree with it. But anyway, this is I got a little row of okra. I planted it lengthwise of the garden. And then y'all, I was kind of late getting them done, but I planted some different kinds of peppers. And they're not very big yet, but they are kind of getting started. This right here, this is a sweet pepper. That's a weed there. That needs to go. That needs to go. But that's like a bell sweet pepper. I've got a mix of red and green ones here. Then we got a couple more peppers here. Now these right here, I don't know for sure. I think there's 3 or 4 plants here, and it was kind of a mix. It had habaneros and serranos and all kind of different, just a hot pepper mix. And y'all, I like hot food, but habanero is about hotter than I want to eat, And but what I do with all these peppers, like these here, these are serrano peppers. Pretty good pepper, like a chili serrano, real good pepper. You can actually, they're hot, but you can still eat them. They're not so hot you can't just eat it. But I make a lot of my own seasonings and rubs and stuff like that. That's what I do with a lot of these peppers. That's why I grow them most of the time. And then y'all, I planted a bunch of seeds here. Now this is a yellow pear tomato. It's what it's called, a yellow pear tomato. And I still got to thin these out. Like I said, we planted these straight in the ground from seeds. and I've got to thin these out, and a lot of what I thin out I'm gonna give to my buddy Gary. He was down earlier and we was talking about gardening stuff, and I've got plenty of slips that I need to thin out, so instead of letting them go to waste because I don't have enough room to plant them, we're gonna take and plant them in his garden. And now y'all, this is a chili poblano, I think is how you say it, and it's a real good pepper. A lot of times we grill those, stuff them with cheeses and stuff like that. And then of course I got a few small, they aren't very big yet. Got a few jalapenos. I mean, I like the flavor of jalapenos. It's a real good eating pepper to me. Let's see what else we got, y'all. I told my wife I was going to be out here for about 10 minutes, but I'm going on 11. So anyway, I planted some turnips, and we've already harvested some of the greens and eat off of them. That's something else we're going to have to thin out a little bit. Then I've got cucumber plants here. They're getting pretty good size. They're starting to make blooms down here on this end. I'll show you. They're starting to make blooms. And, oh, sorry y'all. They're starting to make blooms, and I've got my first cucumber growing. And y'all, I try to tie these up where they'll kind of grow up. And the reason I do that is because you know how cucumbers, the vine, they spread out. Well, if you get something for them to grow up, what I do, I take these poles and I put ropes, and I let, as the cucumbers get taller, I wrap them around different ropes, and sooner or later they just entwine in that. And it's not only so much easier to pick them, it's also, it gives you like a more defined shape. You know how a lot of times when a cucumber sits on the ground, it'll curl up or one end turn yellow. Well, most of the time it'll be more of a uniform size and shape to your cucumbers and stuff. Plus it makes it a lot easier picking, like I said. And oh, sorry about that, y'all. This here is mustard spinach. Now I've raised spinach and stuff like that, and we're gonna take a lot of this and make like a mixed green out of it and can it and stuff. But y'all, that's my garden. This year, that's about all we're raising. And we're gonna, like I said, can and freeze a lot of this stuff, and y'all, for a good little deal, I think. You spend the money on seed, put it in the ground, show it a little tender love and care, and next thing you know, you got groceries, y'all. But anyway, y'all, I just mess around. Want to let y'all see what I was into. I just want y'all to know I appreciate you watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all next time.